Hello, I'm Minco Eggersman and I'm a soundtrack composer.
I'm Minco, so great to be here and to check this amazing studio. So how did it all start for you in music?
Yeah, that's a good question. It actually started with me hitting furniture, pots and pans, being a kid at home. I don't know, I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, and at some point my parents were maybe a bit annoyed by it, and they bought me a snare drum. That was something I really liked because, you know, there was like the first part of the drum set I wanted. And so I started playing on that snare drum, and then soon my parents bought me a real drum kit as well. And I was over the moon because I could finally, create all these patterns on nicer sounding things than the furniture that I had in my mind. And and then they put me on a music school for a drum course, which I enjoyed. But you know, I think it was about 3 years when I was at the drum course, when the drum teacher told me, "Okay, this is the end of the first course. You're now going to do an exam, but you probably know you're probably not going to make the exam." And I say, "Yeah, I think I know why, because I didn't practice what he told me to practice." I got this book, and of course at home I tried what it said for 5 minutes, but yeah, then I put it away and I put on the music I love. So I played the Final Countdown of Europe or the albums of Toto in the 80s, late 90s, which were for me, that was the music that ticked my box. And I started playing, with these tracks that I liked. And then, and then the teacher said, I see that's what you like and what works for you. So you probably should do the exam at all and quit and start a band. And I was so happy that he said that, because that was the dream I had in mind for many years, to actually start making my own music. And so in a few years' time, I started a few bands. I was first a drummer in these bands. But we toured first some smaller clubs, and soon it were tours throughout the Netherlands, then tours through Europe. We played Paradiso, we played Bataclan, and in Paris we played in many different places. That really was a beautiful time where I enjoyed playing drums, but in the same time I was already exploring the whole songwriting part. And at first I was just writing 1 or 2 songs on an album of our band together with the others. And later on I started the band where I created half of it or a lot of it or whatever. And I found out that being able to express myself via chords and via the guitar mostly was what I wanted to do, and I still play drums. I enjoy it, but I wanted to be able to share a whole story, and that was via writing the songs myself. Actually very natural how that went, because I was already very much into film and film music, but I never thought of the idea of actually creating that myself until the director Jaap van Heusden, that's a Dutch director whom I worked with a lot on, I think already 10 films. Said when I write my scripts or when I think of certain scenes, I have the music of your band. My band is called At the Close of Every Day. That was the band that I was touring a lot with. And he said, I hear that music or that vibe you create. Would you be interested in creating music for my film? And that's where it all started. And I really enjoyed it. It was totally new. Being an autodidact, I tried instruments, I tried sounds, and somehow it worked, and it worked with the film. And the film got a nomination for a Golden Calf, and it was a total surprise that I was actually able to pull it off. And that's where it started.
That must be a huge honor when someone tells you that I wrote my film in thinking about you cannot say no to that.
No, Indeed, you cannot say no. There were many moments that I thought of saying no because I thought, okay, I am not a trained film composer. I can't read notes. How am I able to write something that should fit the scene the director has in mind? So a lot of insecurity came to mind, but that didn't stop me from doing it. And I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I came to the conclusion quite shortly after that I like being in a studio way more than I like being on the road. And what I love most is that I am a part of a group of people that, and all of these individuals add their craft in order to make the story come across to the audience. And to be a smaller radar in a bigger machine is something I really enjoy compared to being an artist on a stage alone where it's just the music. So yeah, that way of storytelling really appeals to me. I still am very open to every new film that I do, and there's always a moment that I'm like, okay, I have no idea where this is going, but I trust my experience, I trust my musicality, my guts, whatever, that it will work out. But as I'm not trained, I have no set of theoretical skills that I can always go to, oh, this chord will work for that, oh, this chord will work with that. I can play many chords, but I am not really into, oh, this is called this or that. I just try. And I have found out ways that work for me and at the end work for a director. So that in itself gives me comfort. But it's still in a way something that I can't grasp. I can't really grasp where the creativity, where the inspiration comes from. And I just know I've never had a writer's block. I always know where it should go. I always know what to do, but it's based on experience, on how I approach it, in comparisons to that I've been to school and know how others do it. So it's kind of trial and error, and that in itself has worked. I'm happy with how things go now, and of course throughout the years I now approach things in a way that I get more quicker to my goal for sure. But you know, it's always a canvas blanco when I start. I always let the story and the film speak to me, and then it resonates, and then something happens which I can't control, but it works. I have heard it so many times in my life, people saying, this is typically Minco, that they know, they hear a certain chord or certain change and they say, this is typically you. If you would have done this and this training, you would probably have skipped that idea because it's a bit different. And those are the things that I like. But okay, that's one side, and the things that I know for myself, my works are in general are melancholic for sure. If you want to if you are going to make a comedy, don't call me. I don't know how to write happy music. It's a bit minimal. Sometimes, of course, it can be a bit bitter, but in general, just a few instruments, very well recorded, where we really spend time to actually create a sound that in itself tells a story, which helps me to play less because the sound is so rich and so beautiful that really challenges me to play less, which I like. I actually like films without music. I like films with just minimal music, so that's where you find my works. Films that are not full blown with music, that are very delicate, melancholic, that are about life itself, about, you know, that have a sort of brokenness in them, which you'll find in my music. It's too, I leave some errors I leave sometimes in my music, or many times, because that's where the human feeling starts to resonate, and that's what connects to the people. And yeah, so in general, minimal, melancholic, actual recordings, so not hardly anything from the computer. I mentioned the comedy, and then of course I mean the more Hollywood kind of comedy, and directors that are after that, they don't even think about me, so that's totally fine. It's not that many times that I'm being asked for something that doesn't fit. If I say no, it's probably that it's a time problem or maybe something else. But most of the times, the directors that ask me want me for the music I make, and that in itself is a beautiful compliment. And almost all the times I hear what they say. I mean, I know their work, I like their work, and I feel there's a connection. And throughout the years, I've worked with directors from the East of Europe a lot, of course also the Netherlands, but a lot from East of Europe. And what I've heard, one of the first times I worked with someone from the East of Europe, they were surprised that I was actually from the Netherlands because of the tone of my music that actually fits a lot with how they create their films. And my personal interest is also in films from that area. So and then there's a kind of a snowball effect that someone hears it or sees my film, and then the filmmakers from these countries somehow hear my music and feel the connection, and that's the direction that I like, and that gives me a lot of work these days. Yeah. The directors that approach me trust me. They like what I make. For instance, they maybe play my music while writing or whatever. So they like the whole tone of voice, the sound, and the songs. So they feel comfortable within that that area. And then many times there is a carte blanche. They say, "Well, this is the script," or "These are the first scenes we already made. What comes to mind?" And then it can be something on the drums or piano or organ that I come up with, or sometimes a trumpet or violin. But it can also be that even though they like my tone of voice and they like my sounds, whatever, at first I get a kind of a carte blanche, but then I create something that they are either not comfortable with or too surprised with, or they have to grow on, So, and that's good because I want to make what the film needs, and who knows more what the film needs but the director. So it can be that we have this conversation going on where I come up with suggestions, and that it ends up being a good starting point, but it will not be what at the end will find its way into the film. So yes, there's freedom, but it's always in conversations, and I sometimes have to change my plans, but always it works out, and it's always in a way that both me and the director are happy with the journey we took and the result it actually gave.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget, there's more to watch.